Cheeseheads. Get on your feet. It's Curd and Long. Hosted by Sparky, Fifer, and Ryan Horvat.
There he is, Ryan Horvat's return to Curd and Long. He is back and ready to roll here on another edition of Curd and Long. Download on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast app, check us out on the Odyssey Sports YouTube page as well as record here on Wednesday afternoon. We have not heard Horvat's thoughts on this Packers draft, so that's what a majority of this podcast is going to be, getting Ryan's thoughts. First, let's start round one. Jordan Morgan, the pick for the Packers out of the University of Arizona, the offensive tackle that they plan on playing at left tackle to start, but they've also said that he could move to guard or right tackle. They want to play the best five linemen on the field, like always. Your thoughts on that pick? Did you want somebody different? Did you want them to do something different? What do you got?
Yeah, I was upset because I saw your text. I would have jumped on and did the pod on Friday night after round two, but I got the message the next morning because you sent it at like 11:30, and I got home and it was a long week and I just went right to bed. My wife was like, "Oh man, you didn't even stay up for the NBA games. Like, you were just zonked out." I was like, "Yeah, I was really tired on Friday night." And luckily I hit no traffic on the way home. So we kind of hit on this, my only issue with Jordan Morgan was the ACL tear, but he came back in 2023, played an entire season. I really like that Arizona team. I worry a little bit about his strength. I know a lot of the scouts worry about his arm length. Is he a guard? Is he a tackle? I think he needs to put on more muscle, but I like a guy that can move around a little bit. Hopefully he could be the tackle of the future and not just a guard, because I don't really want to draft a guard in the first round. But a big question mark for him, for me. I like it. I get the reasoning. I never question Green Bay with offensive linemen, although sometimes they do miss with offensive linemen, obviously, right? Like Goot has. Ted was pretty good with offensive linemen. This one's a big question mark for me, but he did have a nice year at Arizona. I think he needs to get a lot stronger, though. I don't know that he's a week one, season one starter, but if you're drafting him there, he probably is, right?
I don't know. I have no idea. We'll find out. Again, I have questions because of arm length and everything about him in left tackle. Obviously, he played at Arizona, played it very well at Arizona. If I was a guessing man, I would guess he either plays right tackle and Tom plays right guard, or he plays right guard and then leaves Zach Tom at right tackle. So that's round one. We went over that Thursday night after round one, in case you missed it. That's Ryan's thoughts on that. Round two. Now this here, to me, this round was the best round maybe of Goody's career. I absolutely love the second round. I love both picks. We'll start with Edgerrin and Cooper. And they were sitting there with Cooper DeJean still sitting there. And then the Eagles swooped in and took them right in front of the Packers. Now, I don't know if that's who they wanted or not, but once that happened, the Packers moved back, picked up an additional pick, and took Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker. What do you think about him?
I was a little sad at first because it did seem like, that was maybe the move for Green Bay because they moved back. We don't know this. I didn't even hear anybody ask Gutekunst that question. Eagles had a hell of a draft, by the way. I think they win that division, and I think they win 13 games, but we're talking Packers here. And if we weren't going to get Cooper DeJean, I think a nice consolation prize for myself and for Packer fans that wanted Cooper DeJean is the other Cooper, Edgerrin Cooper. First linebacker off the board, in my opinion, the best linebacker in this draft. Has length. He's really athletic. Led all linebackers last year in college football by Pro Football Focus grade. I think he had like a 90. He doesn't really have any weaknesses. He could tackle, really good in run defense, could get after the quarterback, solid pass rush you're getting from him. The only thing I think he'll have to get a little bit better with is maybe like coverage instincts, maybe. But I think he's going to be a really, really good linebacker. I think he could wear the green dot, and I think that that kind of opens things up for Quay. So I was really excited for this pick. I like this pick a lot.
We talk about that pick specifically. They came back and took another linebacker in the third round. We'll get to that momentarily. But it's funny because you hear people talk about, well, they're going to a 4-3, so they need more linebackers. Yet the whole basis of a 3-4 is playing four linebackers. And you hear people talk about how you need more linebackers for this defense than what they actually have at this point. And part of the reason is because the guys that were playing outside linebacker now have to have their hand in the dirt, right? Van Ness, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, they now become defensive ends instead of linebackers. And that's why you're scrambling, trying to fill that linebacker room besides McDuffie and Quay Walker. I love the pick, like you said. I thought he was the best linebacker in this draft. I wasn't as big of a fan on Junior Colson from Michigan. I thought he was a solid player. I just don't know if he's a special player. Cooper might be a special player over the course of time. Have to wait and see. Then they come back and they get the safety that we were all hoping for, or a safety in general, there early on. And they come back and they take Bullard out of Georgia. And this kid is kind of like Xavier McKinney, kind of can do it all.
Yeah, so I've been going back and forth with my brother-in-law, soon-to-be brother-in-law, on this for like the last 3.5 months, man. He liked the kid from Minnesota. I really like Bullard a lot. I mean, you obviously need depth at that position. Even with McKinney, all the money that you're paying him, and Anthony Johnson Jr. is going to get some time, obviously, but I think you're going to be able to get Bullard on the field right away. Anybody that comes from that Georgia defense, we know Goot loves them, but I'm a really big fan, man. He's really good in coverage, and he could play in the slot. I saw he was one of 4 Power 5 players who earned a 80+ grade at Pro Football Focus coverage and run defense from the slot the last 2 years, and that's exactly what Green Bay needs. Somebody that could cover in the slot and somebody that's not afraid to come up and make some tackles. I'm so sick of seeing the safeties whiffing on tackles, diving at people's legs. You know, they're physical those first 2 years. Then maybe they get the bag, maybe they get paid, and then they're all over the place, like going back to Clinton Dix. So that's what I really like, man. Good coverage safety, and he's physical, and he'll make some tackles. So this is actually probably, for me, the pick of the draft.
I would like to know how much Jeff Hafley was involved in this draft, because there definitely seems to be a theme with the picks as we go along here. You could say this about Adrian Cooper. You could say it about Bullard. You can talk about the other 2 safeties, the linebacker. All these dudes play with an edge as far as they want to tattoo a guy. I mean, they're not just going to necessarily drag the guy down. You see highlights of all these guys making blow-up tackles and blowing dudes up. And if he's trying to change the way this defense plays, you have to have the guys that play with that mentality. And not everybody plays with that mentality. So maybe this is the beginning of kind of rebuilding this defense personality-wise in the personality he wants it to play with.
Absolutely, man. Like, they're just going to get, like, what they're doing is, I mean, they got a bunch of athletes, guys that could cover, guys that can now tackle. Like, they're watching the same stuff that we've watched the last decade plus on the defensive side of the ball. It's time that this defense is at least top 15, top 10 for an entire season. Not like they have a good 4-week run when we're playing against the NFC North. Like, you know what I mean? Like competition that or Baker Mayfield. I mean, how many Super Bowl rings would they have won with Aaron Rodgers if they always had a good defense? You know,
2 or
we'll
3
never know.
maybe?
We'll never know, right? But like, man, I love Bullard. I love Cooper because these dudes are physical. These dudes have played at the highest level. You know, the SEC, like if you're playing at Georgia, you're playing in the biggest games, even though they have played a cupcake schedule the last couple of years. So I'm really excited about these picks. It does seem like Hafley does probably have some say or have some involvement because these are the kind of guys that are going to fit the scheme. They're going to play more man, more press coverage. They're going to get right up on you at the line of scrimmage and stick you. And these are the kind of guys that could do that, right? These aren't just like these aren't the athletes that are just running 4.2, 4.3s. No, these are the guys that Goot likes and the guys I think that fit the system perfectly, man. These are the guys that we've been asking for the last couple of years. So I'm excited.
Yep, I totally agree with you on that. And, you know, you talk about him playing in the slot, and that may very well be where he goes. I have questions about how much they really believe in Anthony Johnson because you drafted 3 safeties in this class. If you really believed in Anthony Johnson, are we drafting 3 safeties in this class? Because you still have Nixon back there too. So you have Nixon, Johnson, and now these 3 safeties to go along with it. I question how much they believe in Anthony Johnson, I guess.
Well, the kid from Oregon State, the reason that they drafted him was he's coming off his best college season, and he had a 91.3 run defense grade. That was the best.
He's more of a box safety.
That's the best grade among Power 5 safeties. Exactly, man. More of a box safety. Hell, like, we'll see. You know what I mean? Like, they might use him even as a linebacker occasionally. I don't know. They're going to get creative with this defense. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I think all these guys are going to play because they all fit a specific role. The NFL is so different than like when it was like, you know, Leroy out there, right? And he was never coming off that field. Now, I mean, you don't expect if you're paying McKinney $25 million, he's probably not coming off the field a whole lot. But with these young guys, yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, we needed more depth. You're going to get an entire preseason, luckily. And if you got to pull the trigger early, pull the trigger early. You can't be like throwing these guys out there every week. Like Savage was much better this year, but 2 years ago, that was a tough watch every year, costing you games every week. So now, like, you got guys that you could get on the field. They may not play every snap. Some weeks you may use them more than others. That's what I like. Like, that's what the best defensive coordinators do. That's what makes Lou Anarumo from Cincinnati so good. You know, every week it's a different game plan. It's not just the same stuff. And I think that that's what Green Bay is trying to do here. Like, run a modern day defense, what we've been asking for years. So I actually like all these safeties. And the kid from Oregon State is going to be a hell of a football player. Also, you know, just with that run defense grade, and if you watch him tackle, probably going to be a really good special teams player, I would assume. That's the other thing. You know, like, some of these guys you might be drafting for special teams because we need guys that could actually get down there, wrap up, and tackle. Even with
safeties and linebackers, perfect special teams players. Okay, let's talk about the other third round pick here. They go and they get a running back. This was a concern of mine going into day 2 of, please don't wait till like round 5 before we take a running back. Please don't wait that long. They did it. They took Marshawn Lloyd. And then you hear your guy, Daniel Jeremiah, talking about the best running back on his board was Marshawn Lloyd. So that made me feel good. I was like, well, that's Horvat's guy. He loves Daniel Jeremiah. So, okay, if he thinks he's the best running back, go with it. I wanted Jalen Wright, the running back out of Tennessee. We talked about that. I like Kirby. That was another running back I like. I like him too. He's similar to Josh Jacobs. I think a little bit in body, probably more explosive than Jacobs to a certain degree. I forgot who it was. Somebody on Sirius XM radio on the NFL channel. It might have been, I don't remember. Somebody compared him to Reggie Bush. Was a comparison of he reminded them of Reggie Bush. You obviously watch a lot of USC. You're Mr. College Football guy himself. What do you think of him?
Yeah, I was screaming all season long for them to give Lloyd the ball more, actually, because he was awesome. And I think that he fits LaFleur's multiple run scheme perfectly. He had like 47 or 50 missed tackles last year. He had double-digit runs of 15-plus yards. He's pretty good as a receiving back. Like, he could catch the football. He's good with the yak. The problem is he's most likely going to be a rotational player, not a 3-down back right away, because he really struggles in pass protection, and LaFleur will probably want to kill him. Like that's why A.J. Dillon probably still has a spot on this team, and you're going to carry 3 running backs. He's going to be your gadget guy. He could be what you wanted, like Tyler Ervin to be. He could average 5-6 yards per carry. He could catch like 50 to 60 balls. He's exciting as hell. That's where the Reggie Bush comp comes in. But the issue is really struggles in pass pro. So that's my only concern with him. He probably is the best running back in this draft, though, as far as like how explosive he could be. I love this pick. Absolutely.
All right, Ryan, let's move on now to the 4th round pick. And like I said earlier, they go linebacker again. Tyron Hopper, the linebacker from Missouri. I think the initial reaction from Packer fans on social media was, what are we doing? You just got a linebacker. What are we doing taking another linebacker? Then when the Packers had their press conferences, one of the guys that they sent out there said, I don't see the issue. Both these dudes are like 6'3" and can run like crazy and run sideline to sideline and make plays. Who's to say they can't be out there together, making plays together on the football field? And obviously they don't see an issue with drafting a guy like that. I don't have an issue drafting a guy like that either, because you're looking for bigger guys that can run versus, like you say, Jeremiah Trotter. He's a smaller linebacker, not exactly the prototype of what they wanted to put with Quay Walker.
Yeah, these are all like small dudes. Like, I like them because they could come up and they could stick you. They're going to be good in run defense, and Green Bay's obviously struggled in run defense. But I think that the reason you're adding depth at the safety position, and the reason that you're adding these 2 linebackers, like you said, these 6'3" prototypical linebackers for today's NFL, is because of what they could do in coverage, right? Like, we just said it with Cooper. He was the only linebacker in college football that had an 85+ grade in coverage, run defense, and pass rush. And then Hopper, you know, he's really athletic and he could get after the quarterback. I believe he had 49 pressures since 2022, since they actually put him on the field. And he's pretty solid in coverage, only gave up 1 touchdown in his career. So what does Green Bay always get killed by? Crossing routes and tight ends. Every week I play the tight end props and the slot receiver props. No more of that. Like, LaFleur's seen enough of that. So now you're going to get some linebackers, some safeties that can actually cover. and we're not going to get killed by TJ Hawkinson. I mean, he'll still have a couple grabs. Also, look at this division now. Cole Kmet, Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson. We got to get better defending the middle of the field, and that's what Green Bay did in the draft. So I love these picks, man, and that's what they were doing. So I completely understood it. And I usually rip Goot. He killed this one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sorry, Spark, I didn't mean to cut you off. My favorite pick, we haven't even got to it yet. You're going to be shocked.
Well, we're getting there little by little. Evan Williams is the 4th round, the safety from Oregon. Another guy that hits hard and with a purpose. Can get after it and run a little bit. He seems more similar to Bullard than me, the kid from Oregon State that we talked about earlier.
Could be another special teams player, right? Like he loves the blitz. 8 quarterback pressures and 5 sacks from the safety position. So they're going to want to dial it up a little bit. You could put him on the field there. Maybe you're going to use him on special teams. I like it. Again, we don't know. I mean, and it's such a tough position, any position in the secondary to evaluate. So might as well bring guys in, have them compete. There's no guaranteed spot for anybody drafted after the 4th round anyway. So I like it.
It was interesting. Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl, was on SiriusXM radio during the draft. That's what I was listening to when I was driving around running errands. And Nagy said when they made that pick on Evan Williams, that Nagy heard from them that morning about how they were hot to trot on Evan Williams. That was the guy they wanted in the 4th round. And if you look at their draft, I want to say we had Paul Brettel on Monday, and I believe he said 8 people that they drafted were from the Shrine, were from that senior game, that Senior Bowl. And it's been a thing with Goody the last 3 years or so where he really goes after these guys that played in that Senior Bowl. So next year, if you want to know who the Packers are going to draft, I advise you watch the Senior Bowl, Ryan Horvat, because that tends to be where Goody likes to live and draft players from.
Watch the Senior Bowl. Hell, it's a national holiday in the Horvat house. We make snacks and everything, man.
It's a national holiday.
We love it. We love it. He does have a type. Like, Good has a type. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, dude. And again, and we'll get to it a little bit later on, but you get to see these guys in school that maybe don't play against the best competition, how they stack up against different players in those one-on-one drills and stuff. A lot of people say the practice leading up to the actual game is more important than the actual game itself. There's still something to be said about the actual Senior Bowl game itself, but those practices leading up to it is a big tell sign too. All right, Jacob Monk, the center from Duke. I had Brian Baldinger on Wisconsin Sports Daily this week, and Baldy absolutely loves this kid and put out a video on him. Now, I don't know if he eventually replaces Myers because there's thought that Zach Tom could maybe replace Myers at some point. Maybe this guy kicks into guard, but he started forever at Duke and has been a mainstay. A lot of snaps, a lot of football being played by him. And apparently he's a different dude off the field than on the field. Off the field, laid back, cool. On the field, nasty, mean, competitive, getting after it when he's on the field. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I really like Duke football the last couple of years. I think what the Green Bay Packers liked about him is that he played 200 snaps at both center and right guard the past 2 seasons. So he's versatile. Maybe he's a center, maybe he's a guard. I like him. I like the pick here. You need depth on the offensive line, but I don't know, I don't really know what he is at the next level. I don't know if he's ever a starter or if he's just a career backup, but I do like that he could play multiple positions a lot.
Oladapo, we talked about him earlier from Oregon State. He was the other pick there. Now we get to the 6th round. Another guy that Brian Baldinger absolutely fell in love with is Travis Glover, the offensive lineman from Georgia State. Now, Glover was in the Hula Bowl, and Baldinger did that game. So he gets to the Hula Bowl, and he goes to coaches. All right, man, who should I be looking at? Who should I be focusing on? And all the coaches pointed him to Travis Glover. Go watch this kid. And this kid has been a starter pretty much from day one at Georgia State, and against top competition, a better competition at the Hula Bowl, did more than well, according to Baldinger. He thinks he's got a chance to be a good player in the National Football League. He goes, maybe he has to sit out a year. Maybe he sits a year on a practice squad or whatever else and then gets his chance. He goes, but he thinks he's going to be a really good football player.
Yeah, I'm a big Georgia State fan. I bet him like every single week, man. I love him. Love my Panthers. But so what I like about him, 6'6", think he's got like 35-inch arms. Dude's like Hulk Hogan. He's played more than 4,000 defensive snaps in college football. He was like a late bloomer, though. He like really came on that last year. And he's really good against the run. He had like an 80.6 run defense grade, I believe, or something crazy like that. He was awesome last year. And he's a basketball player. I think he could be an absolute stud. He might be a project, though. Might take him some time. But even if he's just a situational, rotational player early on, you get him on the field. I think his upside's huge. He's a big boy.
Maybe he's a swing tackle in place of Yosh Nijman. Maybe that's the role he fills next year and only plays in case somebody gets hurt. Horvat, I think, and I don't know, we have not talked, but I'm going to make a prediction that this next pick was the guy that you love the most, and that is Michael Pratt, the quarterback from Tulane. Is that your favorite pick in this draft for the Packers? Is this the guy you got all excited about?
No, it's not. It's not
Michael Pratt.
Dude,
oh,
I keep forgetting, Spark, that Travis Glover is going to play offensive tackle because he also played defense. Dude is an absolute freak, by the way.
No, he's going to be an offensive tackle for sure. Yeah.
Man, yeah. So Pratt, I love Pratt though. And so I knew you'd think that this is where I was going to go. That's actually the next pick though. But yeah, I think it's time for Sean Clifford to either pack his bags or get set to join the practice squad because this is the perfect backup for Jordan Love. He's coming off his best throwing downfield season. He had an 88.5 grade on throws 20 plus yards down the field. So he's the perfect backup to Jordan Love. You don't have to change anything around with the offense. Jordan Love loves to push the ball down the field, could hit the intermediate stuff. And I like Pratt. And he was in the pool when he took the phone call. I'm a huge fan. I loved him in college football. Loved him in that bowl game a couple years ago against USC when they won outright for me. I love this pick, and I think he's your backup quarterback next year, I hope.
All right, so that's Michael Pratt. I'm interested to see how this all plays out with Clifford. Clifford's got a year in the system. I can't imagine Clifford not being on this roster, but we'll see. 7th round, the guy that you apparently really like was a guy that I thought would go somewhere in the 4th or 5th round in this draft. And somehow or another fell all the way to the 7th round. Kalen King, the cornerback out of Penn State. I believe it was Sauce Gardner that went on Twitter and said, everybody's sleeping on Kalen King. Like, y'all are going to remember this kid pretty much. And the Packers said, okay, if you say so, Sauce, we'll go take him. So they took him there in the 7th round and picked 255. What's you like so much about Mr. King?
His upside. Going into last season, man, I don't know what the hell happened. Penn State, I am not a fan, as you know. Like, man,
I do know.
Yes. About Drew Aller. I just watched the spring game. He better have been hungover, man. I know that there was some wind, but Jesus, he looked awful. He looked worse than last year. And I'm not a James Franklin guy. He never wins the big game. Anyway, with King. So he was going to be a first-round pick in the 2024 draft. Really struggled. Didn't have a great coverage grade. I think he was 308th among FBS cornerbacks, his coverage grade. But, dude, the year before that, it didn't make any sense. He had an 89 grade, so he dropped 29 points, and he was 6th. He was a top 10 DB in college football, goes back to Penn State, thought he was going to improve his draft status. Instead, he's the Packers' last pick. So I just love the upside. Is he going to be the next, Jair? I have no idea, but maybe. I don't know. I got to go back and now watch a bunch of Penn State football because I was shocked. I almost forgot he was even in this draft, to be honest with you, because I was like, holy cow, King, we got him this late? Heck yeah. Because, again, he was going to be a first-round pick. Who knows? Maybe, I haven't really, and I kind of forgot all about him. I'm not going to lie. I should have done more homework on him. Maybe he was playing with an injury. Maybe something was going on off the field. I don't know. It's just I love the upside of a kid who at 20 was a top 10 corner in college football, and then at 21 maybe struggled. I think he could probably bounce back. You never know. In the right system, especially, I think this is a knock it out of the park pick. Maybe he doesn't even make the team. Maybe he's your starting cornerback next to Jair. I don't know, but I love the upside. Hell yeah.
He is Ryan Horvat, BetMGM tonight. Trista Crick, Nick Ashu, weeknights on the BetQL Radio Network. You can also stream it on your Odyssey app. Steve Sparky Fifer, Wisconsin Sports Daily, weekday afternoons from 2 to 5, as well as the Potawatomi Sportsbook Probes postgame show. Served up by Wendy's. Both shows are served up by Wendy's on 12:50 a.m. The Fan. Looking forward to game number 6 in Indy coming up on Thursday night. Take a quick time. I'll come back on the other side. I want to hear concerns that Horvat may still have about this team as they get ready now to start OTAs, get ready to go to training camp in July, all that fun stuff. Straight ahead on Curd and Long. You can also stream us on your YouTube on Odyssey Sports. Hey, it's Sparky Fifer, 1250 AM The Fan, along with Ryan Horvat of BetMGM tonight, part of the BetQL Radio Network. Ryan, what concerns do you have right now heading into training camp and into the OTAs for the Packers? A majority of free agency is done. The draft is now done. So you got a pretty good idea of what this roster may look like.
Man, I don't have many concerns, to be honest with you, Spark, and I never say that. I guess my biggest concern is just how much better the division got. I don't think J.J. McCarthy plays right away. I don't even know that J.J. McCarthy is any good, but the Vikings got better on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see what Sam Darnold is, but they still have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and that's the worst team in our division. The Lions are projected to win 10.5 games, the same amount as the Packers. They didn't lose Ben Johnson. I think they got better. They had to improve the pass defense. They did that. They have plenty of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They could be even better than they were last year. I like Dan Campbell. The Bears, it might not be this year, but I think they're going to be damn good. I think they could have a top 10 defense. I think Caleb Williams is the real deal. Rome Odunze, that's just unfair when you already have Keenan Allen if he could stay on the field. DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, that offensive line. Like, I know I like Justin Fields, but I like Justin Fields if, like, you ran the Greg Roman, Lamar Power stuff, not Justin Fields as Aaron Rodgers. Caleb Williams could be Aaron Rodgers. That scares me a little bit, but I still think the Bears are a year or two away. So let's take advantage and win this year. You know, even like I wanted to say maybe like the schedule would concern me, but look at your road games, right? In the division, we all know. And then you get the Jags. I'm down on the Jags. You get the Rams. I'm pretty high on the Rams. I think the Rams are going to be really good. But then you get the Titans and the Seahawks, so I don't have really high expectations for it. You get San Fran at home, and I think they're going to have some injury regression. That offensive line isn't as good as everybody thinks it is outside of Trent Williams. And I think the defense might take a step back. And you get them at home. You get the Saints at home. You get the Dolphins at home. God, I hope that's a cold weather game. The Dolphins beat one playoff team last year. I think they're the most overrated team in the National Football League. Colts scare me this year, and I really like their draft, and I really like Shane Steichen. Bet them to win Coach of the Year. Texans are going to be good. But then other than that, it's the Cardinals and its divisional opponents. So I think you should be able to win 10, 11 games. Concerns, who's going to be the kicker? Special teams, like always. Does the defense actually live up to the hype now that we got a new coordinator coming in? Any regression from Jordan Love? I don't think so. Second half of the year, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He was playing like Pat Mahomes. Josh Jacobs, does he stay healthy? Offensive line, does it take off right away? But not many concerns. I think they're going to be really damn good. I think the goal is to win a Super Bowl here in the next 2 years. But the division has gotten better. You'd agree, right?
Yeah, I would say the division definitely has gotten better, no question. Like you pointed out, the Bears, I think it's hard to argue that offense isn't significantly better than what they had around Justin Fields. So give credit to Matt LaFleur for helping out Eberflus at the Bucs game, learn how to build an offense. That was nice. That was well worth a beer or two for Eberflus. And then you have, the Lions. They're going to be good. They're going to be right there to win the division, probably will win the division, be them or Green Bay. And then, like you talked about the Vikings, a big question mark as far as how soon does J.J. McCarthy get on the field? Do they let him sit an entire year? And then how happy is Justin Jefferson going to be going forward with J.J. McCarthy as quarterback? Or at some point, does he want to be out if McCarthy isn't as good as what he wants him to be? For me, my concern is Jeff Hafley and his play calling going into this thing. It's been a while. It's been a minute since he's done anything like this in the National Football League. And these offenses, since he's been here, I think have become more complex, more college-like, which helps him, obviously, because he's been a college head coach in Boston College. But there's just a lot more going on with these offenses. So let's see what exactly he looks like. He's saying they're going to be aggressive. He's saying they want to play man press. He's saying all the right things. But what happens if they play man-to-man press and all of a sudden Jair gets beat a couple times? Does that change your mind? And all of a sudden, maybe we don't want to do that anymore. Maybe we're going to go back to just play cover 2. We'll be safe, like Joe Barry, and play 10 yards off the corners. I want to see how aggressive he truly is and how much he's actually going to stick with the game plan that he is telling everybody he wants to have with his personnel. Because if your personnel can't run it, you can't run that scheme. If you do, you're going to get fired, right? You have to run a scheme that fits with your personnel. You've only had one draft class coming in that doesn't know your defense. to really put your stamp on this defense from a personnel standpoint. So we'll see. But my concern, if I had one right now, is definitely Halfley, because I just don't know how good he's going to be. We'll see. And then the cornerback room, I'm not sold on that either, because I'm not sold on Stokes. We don't know how long he'll last before he's hurt again, or what he'll look like if he is healthy. Valentine had moments, but he wasn't consistent. Ballantyne had moments, same thing. And Jair's head was up his butt half the season. So we'll see what this thing looks like next season. I can't wait. Like, get me to training camp. Let's get to some preseason games. Let's see what this all looks like. I'm super excited to see Matt LaFleur with all returning pieces on offense. Josh Jacobs replaces Jones, a much better second running back in Marshawn Lloyd than what you had in A.J. Dillon, where you can play them both in the backfield and create some mismatches. You now know how good Kraft is to play with Musgrave, the wide receivers. LaFleur, I'm telling you, he's got so many toys, and he has all offseason and put them together in some masterful way to destroy opposing defenses. If they're not a top 5 offense, I will be greatly disappointed at the end of this season. I'm expecting top 5. He is Ryan Horvat. Follow him on Twitter at Ryan Horvat. Follow me at Sparky Radio. Check him out weeknights, BetMGM tonight, BetQL Radio Network, also streaming on your Odyssey app. Check me out weekday afternoons, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's from 2 to 5 in the afternoon on your radio dial on 1250. Or if you're listening somewhere else in the country, you can stream us there as well on your Odyssey app. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Toodles.